Right, so welcome back, guys. So this is going to be for the last 2 days of class. We will be talking about the certification test prep questions. Okay, so if you actually go onto your Google Classroom, okay, you got to notice there are a few things that I've posted on here for you guys. So the certification test prep questions are going to be located here, and here's an actual study guide from the actual website itself, okay? So here you go. They give you pretty much the rundowns on what to expect on the exam and so on and so forth, and help you also, be able to be prepared for this exam. So here you go. Dear test candidate, yada yada yada. This is what to expect on the exam. So they even break it down to you. What are the table of contents of what to expect that you need to know to be able to practice, so you are able to successfully pass the certification exam. Okay. So here you go. They give you a few bullet points and things to kind of like go over. But this section right here, which is going to be the actual exam objectives. So again, this whole section right here, I converted it into a Word document. So this is the same exact thing as the Word document, but I went ahead and went even further and broke it down by chapter and added a few key components, because once again, every exam is going to be different. This is just an objective reading list of what to expect on the exam. But again, everything's fair game. You have you could be asked more than what they give you here, okay? Because the whole entire certification exam is going to be based off of the book. So use this as a guide to your reading as well as the practice. Oh no, sorry, the test that I gave you in class, that is purely from your reading, or mostly from your reading and lectures. So you use that for as a guide for reading the book as well, because you will be tested mostly on your book, right? Primarily on your book. All right, so they give you all of this and practice information as well to prepare for the certification exam, okay? However, my exams that I have in class are not, once again, are not for the certification exam. I've already posted down below practice exams here, and what these ones are for the certification exam. Okay, these are to help you practice for the actual certification exam. So they're just a couple of ones that I've posted on here. Okay, the answers are all there, including practice test number 3. The answers are at the very back, at the very end of the whole entire test. Okay, so you have 3 exams that I've posted for you that is actually geared towards your certification exam. Okay. You will also be receiving a practice mock exam test link from me, okay? For helping you be able to successfully do a mock exam. So you get a total of 30 practice exams, okay? That pretty much times you and basically tests you for the same exact information as the actual exam. But of course, it's never going to be 100%. Okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into the certification test prep questions. I have the QuickBooks program up. And again, this is going to be questions that you will need to be able to answer in depth, in fully for the certification exam, because the more that you know, the better outcome you will be successful for the exam. Okay, so here we are. I'll give you the rundown real quick. So the exam, the certification exam, is is roughly 50 minutes to take the exam. Okay, and 1/3 of the exam is going to be navigation. Okay, meaning you need to be able to take your mouse, click on the areas to answer the question. Okay, and then the rest is going to be multiple choice. Multiple choice is going to be obviously clearly from the book, and so on and so forth. So that's the exam. Now you could get roughly 50 questions. The last couple exams were 47 questions. But yes, so you have roughly 50 minutes to answer roughly 47 questions. So about a minute per question. Okay. Multiple choice should be almost instant, right? It's just the navigation portion that you could spend a little more extra time on. Now, with that being said, right, navigation, it's not like everything's going to be on the home page, right? And they may ask you, enter in a bill. So you're going to click, hold, and drag. If you click on the home page and it tells you this option is not available, then you need to explore all of the options. So therefore, I need to go to the vendors menu, right? And be able to click enter bills. I need to get to, if that one is not available, then you need to go to the vendor center. And then you either have new transactions at the top, manage transactions at the bottom, or you can right click on the actual vendor and be able to enter in a bill. Okay, that's only 6. Remember, there are 7 for this one. And if you have the bill tracker, that's also a last way that you can enter in a bill. So in this case, it can deny you all the way to the very end until you exhaust every single answer. You might get lucky if the first option was the home page. Okay, so remember, that's the thing about certifications. They test you for being a master of the program. They don't say, oh, it's just the very home page. No, you need to exhaust every single way that they ask you. And here's a few things too, because sometimes these questions can be confusing. You may have to interpret it a couple times, but as far as the questions itself, it should be more or less explanatory, self-explanatory. But if you do have a question, you could always raise your hand and be able to ask a question during your exam. Okay, so once again, because you guys are all going to be, you guys all took the class at PETA, you guys are able to take the exam on our campus at any given time for free. Now, what do you mean for free? It's because you took the class at PETA, therefore we waive the fees for you, meaning if you go to a different location, right, if you select a different location because it's more closer to your house, then they do charge for lockers, exam entrance fees. They charge a lot of other fees out there. But if you come to PETA, it is free and it's covered because you took the class at our campus. Okay, so please be aware of that when you redeem your voucher and schedule to take your certification exam. Okay, now what are the criterias before you can be able to get the voucher to take your exam? Well, the voucher for your exam, once you receive it and you get a hold of, be able to get the voucher, right? You have up to 1 whole entire year to redeem the certification test voucher, okay? Now, depending on what agency you come from, whether it's One Stop or Workers' Compensation or BVR, some organizations or agencies are gonna kind of push you forward to do it as soon as possible. Others, they let you take your time. Okay, and you guys, for all your packages, you guys do get 2 two exams available, okay? But don't take it too lightly, because once that second exam is gone and done and over with, you guys are responsible to pay for the certification exam, and it's not very cheap. It's fairly expensive. So you definitely want to make sure that you are prepared and ready to go. But in this case, our barrier in order to get a voucher is that you guys have to prove that you guys, when you guys receive your practice exam, you must prove to us that you have completed the exams and you passed the exams at least twice with a 90%. Now, because you have 30 exams each, you get 4 different exams with 30 tries each. So with that being said, that gives you many opportunities to try to aim for a 90%. Now, of course, we encourage you to go beyond 2 times the 90%, because you can't, you might get lucky the first couple exams that you might get 90, but then what if the next couple times you take it, if you get 70, 60, 75, and then there, right? So again, if that's the case, then I encourage you to go beyond 2 times and go and try to get at least 90% at least 5 or 6 times. Okay? Yes.
So, I'm sorry, yes. So if, let me see if I understood correctly. So before we get a voucher to actually take the certification test, we need to pass the practice test
Exactly.
with at least 90%.
Exactly.
And that we also have a year for that, like to take the practice test and the certification.
It will definitely be depending on your agency. So for those who are like workers' comp or BVR, they usually kind of push you forth to try to get it done within 30 days after you completed the class. Where
Okay.
One Stop, they're a little more lenient. They'll let you take your time, but again, they must close your case out, so they're not going to wait for you a year later. They need you to be able to do it within that year.
Okay.
So definitely, it is definitely something you want to talk with your counselors about. However, again, you don't want to also wait that long either, just because this stuff is very difficult. It's a lot of materials, and after that I taught you all this stuff, you want to keep practicing, practicing, practicing. You don't want to take a break here, because eventually you will forget everything, and that's just very common of just humans in general, right? You get too busy doing this that you decide to slack it off, and what happens is you end up forgetting the materials, and when you come back to it and to the practice exams, you start failing it, really terribly, because you're not forcing yourself to do it on a regular basis. So that's why with the student with the book, they give you 5 months free trial, so then you can consistently, after the class, go forth and continue. Okay? Practicing, practicing, practicing. So then you can just go get certified as soon as you are ready. Okay? Now, of course, I am also not going to be there throughout your entire process of going through the practice exams and being there for you to certify. This is all purely on your own. Okay? And on top of that, I also am going to be carrying on with the other students to go ahead and teach them accounting. So therefore, I will not be able to, there is no class for actually certifying for the actual exam. It's on your own. However, of course, because you guys have my phone number, you guys can text me or call me for any reasons that you need help or anything like that. I have a couple of students who still do message me here and there, asking me questions about the exam. But of course, like I've mentioned before, I can only guide you to your reading, but I can't really assist you, just because, again, every test, every exam, everything is different for every individual that takes it. So again, my test is going to be different than your test, which is going to be different from someone else's test. Okay, and they're going to be different every single time you take it. Okay, so yeah, so please be aware of that. Again, if you have a question that's on the exam itself, I can guide you to your reading, but again, that's going to be, based on whether you took the certification exam or not. Okay. All right. So again, it's going to be roughly 50 minutes, about 47 to 50 questions. 1/3 is navigation, where you point, click, and drag on, a screen. And then 2/3 is going to be multiple choice, which comes from the book. Right? All right. Any other questions?
No, for me right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, let's dive right into the study guide. Okay, so again, this is basically a copy of whatever was listed in the actual Certiport study guide itself, to guide you to your reading and to guide you to what to expect on the exam and a little more. And of course, like I mentioned before, I went as far as even splitting it up on particular chapters, so you don't have to pretty much look up the answers yourself. I give you kind of like a guidance of where to go. Okay. So here you go. First section is going to be QuickBooks setup, which is going to be roughly 6% of your exam, which is approximately 3 questions. Okay. So let's talk about this. So the first one we have here is asking what kind of information is required before they set up a QuickBooks file. Okay, once again, this is chapter 12. What kind of information do you need to have before setting up your company file?
Name of business, type of business, tax ID number.
Okay, good. So, business name, type, tax ID number is not required. It's optional. Okay. What else do you need? Think about the interview. What other kinds of information do you need in order before setting up your actual file?
Anybody else has an answer?
Okay, so on page 446, is that what we need to look into, like the 12 steps, or?
That is correct. That is correct. You need to have all of these information before setting up your company file, because if you don't know when you're going to start your business, that's definitely something you need to be able to manage ahead of time. And then, of course, you need to be able to, again, create the company file. And these are the steps that you have. If you're a pre-existing company, you need to have all the year-to-date information, including everything that you need for inventory, your bills, your invoices, and all that stuff. But if you're a brand spanking new company, you would only need steps 1 through 4. So you do need a chart of accounts. That's very important, right? You need to set up a chart of accounts in order for you to be able to run your business. You need to know what kind of products and services that you sell, or if you do, right? You need to know what kind of items, what will you use in regards to preparing your company file, okay? So in this case right here, the business name, the type, and tax ID number, this is considered step 0, okay? From that 12-step thing, because of course, you need to have a business in order for you to be able to create your company file. But yes, you do need that 12-step. What page was it on again? 446, you do need to have these, you do need to know these 12-step company setup checklist. Okay, on 446, yes, you do need to have all of that information, yes, okay. All right, okay, how to start a new company data file in QuickBooks, right? You have two options, right? Right? Express start and detailed start. What's the difference between the two, and who can be able to do this? Right? The how is pretty easy because when you open up QuickBooks, the first thing you got to do is have or create a company file or open up an existing one. So in this case, the how is pretty straightforward. But the question is, what's the difference between the express start and the detailed start, right? That's the how to, because you could also create a company file, but how would you do it if you use the express start? How would you do it if you had the detailed start?
So the Express Start
Mm-hmm.
has a default set of preferences, and then the Detailed Start allows you to do a number of preferences, and then the Express Start doesn't have a start date.
Mm, the first section is more so not as correct, but I think I understand what you mean by default settings. Okay, because in this case, um, you would actually have to manually set those default settings, right? Where the easy step interview, right, walks you through it to set it up for you automatically. Does that make sense? So you're asking a series of questions that helps you set up those default settings, where in this case, right, when we do the easy step interview, right, all you do is just enter in your business information, and you would have to manually enter every single thing that it is in regards to the edit preferences, right? You would have to set all those preferences yourself manually. Okay, where the easy step interview, you're setting them as you go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and write that note right there. Set default settings as you go through the easy step interview. Okay, now who do they recommend to be creating these types of company files? Like what kind of user, or in this case, how much experience does this user must have in order to set up these files?
The Express um, setup is recommended for someone who is familiar with QuickBooks, or
Correct. Okay.
and the other one is recommended for somebody who might not be as familiar with the QuickBooks.
Good. Good. All right. So, in this case, beginner users of QuickBooks, right? Though that doesn't know how to set up these preferences and how to set up their business, then you would definitely recommend to use the detailed start. Okay. So again, make sure you exhaust the difference between them. Like I mentioned before, under the express start, all you have to do is just enter business information, and you would set up all default settings and preferences manually. Okay. While the easy step interview pretty much helps you do that as you go. Okay. All right. All right, chapter 14. Right, we have here how to keep the lists, customers, vendors, and items and preferences from the file while deleting all of the other transactions. We just went over this yesterday. How do you do that?
Was that the backup?
Not the backup.
Con condense or
Good job. Condensed data. Good. So where is it? So let's talk about where that is. How do you do that? So in this case, navigation wise, how do I do that?
wasn't it in the file or edit?
File, menu. What else?
It kind of tell you in there, yeah, file up, and then it asks you no preferences.
No, that's edit preferences.
Yeah.
File what?
And then was it? Oh, it's too small. I cannot see it. I know it's in there. I can see it in my head, but backup company.
This is not a backup. Okay, I'll give you guys a hint.
I think it's create a copy.
Utility.
Utilities.
Yes. Good job, Maria.
All right, and boom, condensed data. Okay. So there's a little tab that you have to kind of go through before you can find the condensed data option. Okay. So there you go. You have the file menu. You have to hit utilities, and then you will have condensed data. Okay. All right. Usually, why would you do this? Why would you condense your data or delete all your transactions?
To start the new year.
In this case, accounting period. Okay. All right. Chapter 7, right? We're going to talk about how to customize, okay? Customize the homepage. How do you customize the homepage?
By your preferences.
Where do you find that?
In the edit menu.
Edit menu. Good. Edit menu. Preferences. And then, of course, you need to make sure you're on company. Okay, good. Now, here's one. If you're an avid user of QuickBooks, right, you would also know that going through the easy step interview also helps you customize your homepage. Okay. What about customizing your home bar, your icon bar, excuse me? How do I customize my icon bar? Anybody? How do you customize your icon bar?
Is it also on preferences?
No.
You have to go through the view or the view or edit, and then you choose icon bar.
Good. So here you go. View, right? And then you have the option to customize the icon bar. Okay. Good. It doesn't have it on the edit. It only has it on the view icon. View the icon bar. Okay. So let me put that in here. View menu. Okay. All right, and then of course you can edit. You can customize your icon bar, right? In this case, in this case, not how, but what can you do to customize it, right? And then of course you need to also know, in this case, the other way that you could do it is you could right click anywhere. Anywhere on the icon bar. Okay? Can you tell me how, what can you customize on there? How can you customize it? Or in this case, what can you customize on the icon bar?
The order and the look of the icon.
Good. Customize order, look on icon, and what else can you do? You're able to
You can add
add certain windows. Okay, good. What about the menu bar? How do I customize the menu bar?
you cannot.
You cannot, yes. However, the only one that you can is the favorites menu. But you can customize the favorites menu. Okay, good. All right, now we're moving on to chapter 2 here. Customers and chapter 4, expenses. Okay, all of these chapters are going to be involving the next few questions, okay? So the first one we have here is, I'm going to push this down actually. Oh, we'll just, okay. How to set up lists, okay? So your customers list, vendor list, items, etc. And this includes understanding which names and items appear on which list. So that's pretty straightforward, right? Anybody that you sell a item to is going to be your customer, right? Anybody that you purchase things from or get services from is going to be your vendors. Anybody who works for you is going to be an employee. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and talk about this. How do we set up a person? There's only one way to be able to set up a person in QuickBooks.
Like a customer,
Like a customer, yeah.
go you go to the customer center and you add a new customer.
Good. Go to centers and add new. Okay, good. All right. Let's see how to set up. Okay, what about items and lists or accounts? How do you set those up?
For list, you go to the list menu,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gives you the option in there to set out depending on the list. New,
How do you get to that new button?
it's in the menu, isn't it?
So if I go up to the list menu,
Where's your QuickBooks?
if I go up to the list menu,
Yep.
where does it say I
And
can
it
add a
says-
new one?
No, you click on item list. You can tell that I just click everywhere in order to get to what I need to get to.
That's fun.
Ooh, and then at the bottom where it says item,
Mm-hmm.
new.
Perfect. Good. So in this case, this could be a navigation question. You need to make sure that you do know the exact steps because that could also be in the form of a question. So you're going to go to lists menu, right? Select the list, bottom left tab gives you a drop up menu to select new. Okay, good. Let me see. All right, of course you could also edit, delete, and stuff, but we'll talk about that in a few moments later. But yes, so make sure you know
Drop.
every single person that you have, there's only one way to create that, which is going through their actual centers and being able to click on at the top of the window, add new, okay? Where if it's list, anything that's an item list, a chart of accounts, payroll item list, you would have to go to list, to the actual list itself, right? Select the list menu, click on the actual list, and then down at the bottom in that left corner, you have that little tab, which brings up a drop-up menu to allow you to select new, all right? And then if alternately, or you can right-click. Okay. Now, oh yes, so I also failed to remember to tell you this. The certification exam is to exhaust your skills and capabilities of navigating the entire QuickBooks, right? If you know any of the shortcuts, right, such as Control C will bring up your chart of accounts, you will get marked incorrect for that. They don't want you to know shortcuts. They want you to only know how to get there. Okay. Now, of course, for those who are avid users of QuickBooks, right, they would know obviously the shortcuts as well to make it that much easier to get through and navigate the QuickBooks themselves. But in this case, you're being tested on that. You're not being tested on the shortcuts. You're being tested on your knowledge on how to actually navigate QuickBooks, not find shortcuts. So all shortcuts that you know in this book, do not use on the certification exam. You can use it in real life, but not for the certification exam. There's only one shortcut key that we do talk about, and it's the only one that we know. Okay, and we'll go over that question in about a couple minutes. All right, so that section right here, you need to be able to understand this section. Make sure you know the ins and outs on how to do that. So the next section here is going to be QuickBooks utilities and a general product knowledge, which is going to be 10% of the exam, which is approximately 5 questions, okay? So a student must know the following. So here you go. I separated each chapter once again. So chapter 1, intro to QuickBooks. So let's talk about how to navigate or move around in QuickBooks, right? We know that there are 3 ways to navigate QuickBooks, right? It's through the home page, the icon bar, and the menu bar, right? So pretty straightforward, okay? Do not confuse this with entering in transactions. Entering transactions is completely separate. This is how you navigate, right? Navigating means where you actually find those function windows to be able to enter into transactions, right? Your only 3 options is home page, icon bar, and menu bar, okay? So what is the home page? What does the home page do for a person? What is the home page?
The home page, it shows the flow transactions. And
Correct.
it's separated into different centers.
Correct. So basically, it gives you a guideline, right? I think I used, it is a graphic depiction. It is a graphic depiction of the flow of a transaction, right? And it is divided into into 5 separate sections. What are those 5 sections? How is the home page divided into sections?
Is it vendors,
Mm-hmm.
customers, employees,
Mm-hmm.
company, and banking?
Perfect. Okay, so yes, it's all of those. Okay, into 5 sections, which is your vendors, customers, employees, banking, and company. Okay. What about the icon bar? What is the icon bar?
Shortcuts.
They are shortcuts. Good. Icon bar is a list of shortcuts. Okay, to either centers, to windows. Okay, but not to a specific transaction. Okay, so that's the one key thing that you make sure that you understand, that the icon bar does not do any transactions for you. It takes you to centers, takes you to reports, takes you to, a place so then you can do transactions, but it doesn't actually do transactions itself. So, for example, the income tracker, right? The bill tracker, the vendor center, right? That doesn't enter in a transaction for you. It basically takes you to a center so then you're able to do it. Okay. All right, what about the menu bar? What is the menu bar?
It's the centers.
Okay, it's not necessarily the centers. What does the menu bar list? So if I go here to my company, I'm sorry, my customers, what are all these?
Everything that has to do with customers.
Yes, correct. So in this case, it is a list of all transactions you can complete within each specific tab. Okay, so again, your menu has vendors menu, reports, banking. It has all of those, and it gives you a list of all the transactions that you can do with them in a specific tab. Okay, good. How to back up or open a backup file, and how to create a portable file and be able to restore a portable file. Okay, so let's talk about backup first. How do you back up a file? Or in this case, let's talk about what is a backup file.
They hold the company information, so you don't lose it, correct?
How so?
Well, you save all your transactions and everything in there when you back up a file.
Okay, that's okay. You're treading on the right path, but why do we create a backup file in the first place? Yes, it is to save those transactions, but why?
In case something happens and you lose all your
Correct.
information,
It's
or
yes.
go back and in a point in time, if you have to look up something that it's been erased from the new file.
Correct. It's a copy of the file and yes, it does save the file and for purposes of corrupt working data files or to look up transaction in a point. What did you say? In a given point of time. In a given point in time. Good. All right. Now let's talk about how. How do you create that? How do you create that company backup?
You go up to file and you find backup.
Good. File, backup company. Good. Okay. All right, let's talk about how do you restore. How do you restore a backup company? How do you restore a backup file?
Um, you have to go to QuickBooks and um, restore file.
Usually, if you're on the home page, right, you're able to be able to have the option to open slash restore existing file. All right, what are the steps to do that? Because you do need to know the exact steps on how to do that. So once you get to that window, it's going to give you the three options. Are you opening a data file, like a working data file, a portable file, or a backup file? You would select backup, right? And then once you get there, you need to also save the location to open up the backup file. Right? Good. So let's talk about portable files. What is a portable file? Well, actually, wait, hold on. What is the, how do you know, how do you know that a file is a backup file? How do you know out of all the files that you have in QuickBooks?
It has a W.
What was it?
It's Q. I'm sorry, I don't remember the three letters, but it has the W at the end. The Q is a Q. Um, the three different types of files. But the one that is
We're talking about backup.
okay, backup. M.
Not M.
B.
QBB, yes. No worries. This is exactly why we have the study guide for here, so we can, talk with each other and figure out what the answer is. Okay. So portable files. What is a portable file?
Would it be QBW?
Not QBW. That's a working data file.
It's a
Okay.
QBM.
QBM, right? QB, I don't know why they use M. They could have used P, but QBM for mobile. You could think of it that way. Now, what is a portable file, though?
It's a file that can be easily transported.
Yes, file that can be. So it's basically a copy of the working data file that can be easily transported. Okay, good. So in this case, how do I do that? How do I create a portable file? How do I create a portable file? If I go to File, how do I create a portable file?
Is it create a copy?
Create a copy. Let me see. Create copy. Does that give you an option to? No, it doesn't.
Backup company. Hold on. Oh, I can see on my computer. When I open the files, I go to open or restore company.
We're not talking about opening.
An option
We're
there?
talking about creating it.
Creating
How do do I create a portable file?
It's on the file menu under second copy file.
Send a copy file?
Second company file. No, send
Send
company
company
file,
file.
then portable company file.
Correct. There you go. Portable company file. Okay. So that's how we create it. So you're going to go to menu, a file menu. You're going to click on send company file. And then you have the portable company file. Good. Okay. All right. Now, of course, how to restore a company file is the same exact steps as you were to open up a backup file. Okay, so I'm not going to type that in there. Okay. So restoring is the same exact steps as it is to for a backup file. Okay. Good. All right. How to determine the release number and which edition of QuickBooks they are currently using. Okay. How do you do that? Let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about how to update your QuickBooks. Okay. So first of all, we want to know, how do you get to the release number? How do you obtain that number? Release/edition. Right? This is the only key or shortcut key I've ever talked about in this class.
Mm. You press F2.
Yeah, press the F2 key, function key. Yes. So if I go ahead, I'm going to show you an example right now. F2 gives you the product information, gives you the whole entire license and what current one that you're using right here. It gives you the release number. Release number is always going to be R number and then so on and so forth. It even gives you as far as information in regards to your actual QuickBooks file, saying these are the number of names that you use. These are the number of list items that you have on here. Okay, total number of counts, you have 70. Total names, you have 47. And a list right here, you saying you have 22 customers, 22 vendors, and 2 employees, and 3 different classes. Okay, it gives you how big the file is. All right, so yes, to look up product information, that is correct. You're going to use the F2 function key. F2 F2 key. Right? Okay, how do you update your QuickBooks to the latest release? Okay, so if it's currently on release number 1, right, and there are a few bugs in this program, so they released a new release number, how do you update your QuickBooks to be updated. Not to the latest software or edition, but just to update the release.
Do you go to the file menu and click help?
Not on the file menu. But you are in the same, you're going the same direction. It's not under,
Oh, it's on the top, and then you click help.
yes, you click help, and then you have the option to update to the latest QuickBooks. Oh, that's upgrade, sorry. Update QuickBooks. Okay. All right. Update, not upgrade. Update. Okay. There you go. All right. So to update, you go to the help menu bar. Okay. All right. What are the versions and editions of QuickBooks that are available for a specific year? Okay. So what are the desktop versions? What are the versions?
Is it Enterprise, Pro,
Mm.
and Accountant?
Well, what was the third one you said? Accountant? What else? There's a total of 5 different versions.
Is it like premium or something?
Premiere.
Premiere.
Good. Okay, if you don't have a desktop and you want to travel and use QuickBooks, how would you do that?
Using the cloud.
Okay, what do you call that though? It's not called QuickBooks Cloud.
The online version.
QuickBooks Online. Yes. Okay. So again, of course, every year it's going to be the version, or in this case, we call them editions. And of course, every year, right? Make sure you know the ins and outs, the difference between Pro, Premier, and Accountant and Enterprise, and of course, online, right? Online is a cloud-based service, while the desktop, you need an actual local desktop to be able to function Enterprise, Pro, Premier, and Accountant. Okay? And make sure you know the difference between each and every single one. What is Pro good for? What is Premier good for? Okay? What is Accountant good for? Okay? Again, if you need a reference point for that, check out the PowerPoint on the Google Classroom for Chapter 1, because I do give you a layout on that, but you're also able to find more information by just researching online. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write that in there. You need to know the difference between each version of QuickBooks. Okay. All right, so now we're moving to Chapter 12, Company Setup. Okay, how to use QuickBooks in single user mode and multi-user mode. Okay. All right, so what does it mean to be in single user mode versus multi-user mode?
So it's for a single user. Is it when you're the only one using QuickBooks? And with multi-user, is it with when you're like in a company and there's multiple people using QuickBooks?
Yes. Good. So single user mode, okay, is when one user is using the company file. Okay, under multi user mode is when you have multiple users accessing the company file at once. Okay. So it's just how many people can use them, and make sure, because that's important, you need to know is that which one offers the maximum amount of people that can use the software at once. So there is, I did lay that out in the in the chapter 1 section under each program to allow you to understand, well, enterprise can go up to 30 users to access a file at the same time. Okay. So it's very, that's good information that you do know that. Okay. Okay. So next question is how to password protect your QuickBooks. Okay. How do you do that? How do you password protect your QuickBooks?
Um, when you're the administrator, you just set up limits to make sure they're only that the users only use the functions that they need, and to make sure you have uh, control on certain things
Okay.
to prevent fraud.
Okay, so in this case, that is how to set up users and passwords. In this case, what if I want to protect my own company file? Yes, you do need to be admin to do this, but how do I password protect my current QuickBooks file? How do I set my password? And this
When
is the,
you do that,
sorry, go ahead.
oops, you gotta go to company and then set up a user password.
Not set up user passwords. Go
Just
company, set up users and passwords. Okay, yeah, change your password. Okay, that's, yes. So you go to set up users and passwords and you click here and you're not setting up a user, you're changing your password. Okay, so yes. Okay, it is very crucial that you do know why you have to lock your data file or password protect your data file. Okay, so how you are going to go to company file, okay, set up users and passwords, change. Okay, and I'm gonna also add this in here saying, make sure you know why it is important to set a password. Okay. All right, chapter 7, okay? How and why to use preferences. Okay? Well, let's answer that question. Why is it so important to use preferences? Why do you think we need to use preferences? This one's a straightforward answer.
Oh, okay. That like your preferences can make your workflow easier.
Correct. Okay, so in this case, why? To make it easier to use QuickBooks. Straightforward, right? Now, the how is going to be what can you do, what preferences can you set for users to make it easier for you to access QuickBooks? In this case, I'm going to have you guys, I guess, answer that on your own because every answer, right? Why would you need it? Again, we already said how. Or I said why. All right, to make it easier to use QuickBooks. Okay. Now, how do I get to those preferences?
Go to the edit menu.
Edit menu.
Perfect.
Good. Edit menu. Good. Edit menu preferences. Now, what's the difference between user and company? What does the use? How do you? What's the difference between setting up user preferences versus company preferences?
User preferences, it just makes your task easier. The company is affects the whole company, what you see for the company, regardless of who's using the system.
Perfect. Okay, so preferences affect entire company file regardless who is using the company file. Okay, where user preference, right, is going to be user preferences are tailored to the current user profile, right? It makes only small changes on the individual person's profile when they log in. But if it's a company preferences, it's going to be a change that does throughout the entire company file, regardless whoever opens it. Good. Okay. All right, that was that section there. So the next section we have here is QuickBooks Lists Management, which is going to be 6% of the exam, okay, which is approximately 3 questions. So a student should know, okay, so chapter 2 is where we talked about customers, and chapter 4 is where we talked about expenses, yada, 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 and the chart of accounts. All right, so the first question here is how to manage your list, okay, whether it's a customer, vendor, items, or any kind of list, right? So this is list management. So first, we talked about how to add add a new entry. So in this case, we already talked about add from above, okay? So actually, let's talk about deleting. How do you delete an entry? How would you delete an entry that's under list management? So deleting a customer, deleting an account, deleting an item. How would you do that?
So you go to the list
Okay.
and then select the list that has the item that you want to delete.
Okay, select item you want to delete. All right. And my question here is, how do you delete it? Do you right click
Delete.
it?
Yeah, I do. And then it gives you the option.
You can right click item and select delete. Or,
You can also edit, correct?
yes, you can.
Or delete, yeah.
Mhm. Delete. Or, same thing. You go bottom left tab, select delete. Okay. Now, why would you delete something? What's the rule here? What is the rule?
If I remember correctly, the rule is not to delete if it's being used or it has transactions on it. That's
Good, good.
combined or something.
Never delete if this account of this, I guess I would use item better. Item, account, person has been used in a transaction. Okay? Okay, but why would you delete somebody?
Because if it's a person or an item that you have never used,
Mm-hmm. To if never used, you can delete to remove. Okay, straightforward. All right, and then of course editing. Say how is the same thing, right? You could edit any kind of entries at any given time. Now, what's the other rule here? If you have used this item slash account slash person, what do they recommend you to do?
merge.
Yes. Recommendation is to merge or inactivate. Inactivate. Okay. Merge or inactivate the account, right? So in this case, right, it's straightforward, right? How to do that, you just right click on it and make the account inactive, make that person inactive, make whatever inactive. But if you have a similar looking type of an account, you would merge them together. So how do you merge two accounts together, or items, or people even? They're all the same, they do the same thing. How do you merge two items or two things? Let's just say call them things. How do you merge two things together?
Okay, so first they have to be of the same type of account.
Okay, same type, okay.
And then they have to, then you have to choose what the account that you're gonna keep and it has to be, um, and you have to convert the one that you're gonna merge. You have to change the name and then account number to match the account that you're keeping.
Okay, so instead of selecting the one that you want to keep, you want to select the one that you don't want to keep because ultimately you're changing the information on the account you don't want to change the information to look like the one that you do want. Okay, so in this case, they have to be the same time. Okay, that's correct. Select the item that you do not, that you don't want to keep, and edit the information to match the item you do want to keep. And then you'll get a message will pop up saying this account, or I guess this item, this item exists. Do you want to merge? Okay, good. Okay, let's see if we're good on time. Okay, let's just try to answer this next question and then we'll continue on from here. So now we're moving into items territory where it says right here it's going to be 8% of the exam, okay, which is approximately going to be 4 questions, okay. So in this case, right, chapter 8 was all about items in inventory, okay? But in this case, we're just focusing on items, okay? Now, how does QuickBooks use items to perform the necessary accounting entries? Okay, so in this case, let's talk about what items are, and then we could talk about the how later. So what are items? What are items used for?
To identify products and services.
Good. To are used for to identify products and services. Now, what else does it, it's besides identifying products and services, what, there's more than just identifying products and services is what I'm trying to get at. What,
Well, it could be purchases or, the items that you sell, inventory.
okay,
No.
okay, all right. And then, okay, so then let's answer the how. How can you use items? You said to sell, right? To sell to customers through invoices and sales receipts. And you can even purchase POs and bills. Okay. Now, in this case, right, items are not just strictly products and services. What else do they include? What else do they include under items?
maybe like shipping or finance charges.
Correct. So in this case, it does identify your products and services, but more ultimately, it's used for the purpose of your sales process. Okay, to to identify any transactions that are involved with a sale. Okay. So, i.e., right, you could charge people shipping. Okay. You can also, you have shipping, you have taxes, right, sales tax, okay, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So then, of course, now that we understand how and how to use items, right, we can use items when we sell a product or when we purchase a product, right? Now, in this case, what are the different types of items and when do you use each type? So in this case, we could stop here. And when we come back from the break, we'll go ahead and talk about the different types of items and how we actually use them. Okay. So right now it is exactly 9:58, or I'm going to go round that to 10. So take your 15-minute break now and please be back no later than 10:15.